Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I'm your host, RC. Solo this week. Jeff is occupied. He's moving. So schedules couldn't work out. Hopefully he'll be with us next week. Busy time for the man. Sending him our best as he journeys off out of Southern California. First things first, welcome in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our social channels. We are at FC Mixer on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have our podcast feeds on most podcast apps, including iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, I believe. We have a survey. The link to the survey is in the show notes. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. The survey will be closing soon. So if you have not done it, click the link. Again, it should be in the show notes. If you're listening to any podcast, it's linked in there. And yeah, let us know so we can improve this and give you more content that you want. Housekeeping done. First things first. Our tilts, as you guys should know, a little heavy into crypto, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster lately. So that's been fun. It's okay. Got a long-term strategy, so hodling as best I can. But the daily checks have been a little bit more stressful than they had been. So not too big of a tilt this week, but something for sure. Yeah, so this is going to be just going to touch on a few stories here. Nothing major. Hopefully we'll talk NFL free agency next show, but this is just I guess a kind of catch up because our last episode was about the stadium. Did not touch on some of the bigger news sports stories. Luckily, it's a slower time of year. March Madness is about to start. We'll sleep in May. But right now, spring training starting in baseball, so stories are trickling in. However, one of the biggest names in sports did provide us a huge headline last week. Maybe it was over the weekend. I can't remember exactly when. But Tiger Woods got in a really bad accident. Some details on the accident. It was 7 a.m. in Ranchos Palos Verdes, which I believe is north of LA, the fancy part of LA. Do not cite me on that. I'm not exactly sure where it is. It sounds like the places the Kardashians and Tiger Woods would live. So that is my guess as to where it is. So what happened is he was driving his SUV, a Genesis, I believe, and it crossed the median, veered across 2 lanes of traffic, hit a curb, popped up in the air, hit a tree, landed on its side in the bush. Details were unclear if it rolled or not, but it did line up on its side, and he suffered some serious leg injuries. And just looking at the map, it's actually west of Long Beach, so a little just outside of my stomping grounds, up in the LA area. And interesting. I believe I've gone to this area a lot. I believe there's like a wildlife refuge or something with like some seals, like 6 seals and stuff. Anyway, interesting that he was going there. He's going to do a photo shoot with Justin Herbert, supposedly. Well, not a photo shoot, but something for the Golf Channel. Anyway, not too important. Back to the details of the injuries that Tiger suffered. These are quotes from, I believe, the CNN article, so take it for what it's worth. So he had comminuted Yeah, open fractures affecting both upper and lower portions of the tibia and fibula. Bones were stabilized by inserting a rod into the tibia. Additional injuries to the bones of the foot and ankle were stabilized with a combination of screws and pins. Broke his leg. Broke his leg in at least two spots, upper and lower portions of the tibia and fibula. So both leg bones. And I believe the comminuted, whatever the word I can't pronounce, is when the in a okay graphic content detail warning. I believe that's when the bone breaks the skin. So which I always thought was a compound fracture, but I guess there's a slightly different. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I don't know these these medical technicalities terms. So anyway, trauma to the muscle and soft tissue of the leg required surgical release of the covering muscles to relieve pressure due to swelling. I mean, it's just really nasty. He's got a rod in there. He's got screws and pins. I mean, his body's been through a lot already. So, really, really, I wouldn't say life altering at this point. He's, I guess he's still in recovery. It's probably too early to tell, but serious, very serious injuries. If any one of my loved ones suffered an injury like this, I would be very, very concerned about their well-being moving forward and their mobility and such. LA County Sheriff Villanueva said that that section of the road is downhill and on a curve. And he said the area is a known trouble spot for speeding and accidents. The road has seen 13 accidents since last January, so about an accident per month. The sheriff described Woods as calm when he found him, but potentially in shock. He determined that there was no evidence of impairment, so drug recognition experts did not respond to the scene or hospital. I do think the fact that he was wearing a seatbelt and the vehicle safety features worked as designed by the manufacturer likely resulted in either reducing his injury or saving his life. Nice of this press release to kind of work in an ad there, or at least that's what it sounds like to me. The sponsors want to make it clear that the vehicle is most likely what saved his life. So anyway, that might just be poor form on my part to call that out, but I couldn't help but get a laugh from that. Maybe because I'm a sociopath. So yeah, I already mentioned he was on his way to film a TV series with Justin Herbert. Supposedly Drew Brees was supposed to be there as well. Not confirmed. Regardless, yeah, I mean, just looking at what this means for Tiger and moving forward, unlikely that he will compete at the level that he was before. I mean, he had won his 15th major last year, maybe the year before last. Sorry, my golf knowledge is not the greatest. I wish, it's more Jeff's realm, but yeah, a huge setback. And obviously, I think the main impact, or yeah, I guess just the main impact of this story, or the main talking point, is just laying underneath the surface. He's had issues with sleeping pills, I believe. He's had issues with alcohol. There's an arrest video out there. And obviously what happened with him and his wife. So everybody's mind is going to jump to that. It's even in the press release here that that there was no evidence of impairment, so drug recognition experts did not respond to the scene of the hospital. So basically, they're not confirming or denying that he may have been impaired. Whether or not that's a fair assumption or question by people, I think is up for debate. Personally, I do think it's a fair question due to his history. And, it sounds like by most accounts he had kind of straightened up and taken control of his substance dependency. Coincidentally, I did watch the Tiger Woods documentary on HBO, which I think is just called Tiger. Really good. Not sure why people aren't talking about it as much. I believe it came out right when the Capitol riots happened. So that took up a lot of the airwaves and social media that seems to dictate what people are watching, at least in my world. It was really eye-opening, and seeing what he had gone through. I mean, the main takeaway that I got from the documentary that I did not know before was he was heavily influenced by his dad, which I did know, and he would go to golf courses where his dad would give golf lessons, and his dad had a Winnebago near the course, and he would teach. He would instruct young blonde women mostly, and then after the lesson, they would go into the Winnebago for drinks, and this is all while Tiger was there, not in the Winnebago, but at the course, and he would see his dad do this with him and the other guy who was on, I can't remember, some family friend of Tiger's dad was the one who revealed that or gave that account of what Tiger's dad did. And so that obviously led to Tiger Woods maybe not being the greatest husband, to put it in simple terms. And then also the amount of pressure that he had, and he's always seemed like kind of a reserved guy that isn't really comfortable in his own skin when he's around people. I know, I can't remember who on the documentary mentioned that one of his favorite hobbies is scuba diving, and the reason he gave to that person why he liked scuba diving so much is because the fish don't know who he is, or his quote, I think, was, "The fish do not know who I am down there." So obviously he's escaping, and the documentary did a really good job showing how he's just surrounded all the time by cameras and stuff, and how he just needed to escape it sometimes. And and unfortunately he made bad decisions to the ways that he escaped that. He escaped by hanging out with essentially escorts in Vegas, and the Perkins waitress thing, which I still don't fully understand her involvement. I can't really. I mean, to me, her involvement just seems like Tiger just getting, I don't know, just wanting some sort of connection. It was like it was a restaurant that the family would go to regularly, and she was the hostess or something. I guess the tone of the documentary didn't really do a good job of putting that in the same context as the reason why Tiger goes to all these escorts. And I mean, he had multiple in different cities where he was he basically would tell them that they were the, he acknowledged that he was married, and that she was, or that the other women were the quote unquote only ones that he saw outside of the marriage, and he wishes that he could just be with them, but he couldn't because of the public eye or whatever. He would tell them that. So anyway, just really bad decisions by Tiger on that. Um, but you do kind of feel sorry for him because he was never really taught how to, I suppose, handle that that attention, and how to channel that energy. The focus was just becoming a golf god, essentially. I mean, literally. His dad was talking like Tiger's going to do more than Gandhi. He's going to do more than such and such. I mean, really crazy ambitions that he had for his son, and just didn't instill the best values in him clearly, and it's something that he's still, I would assume, is struggling with. And I just hope that this accident wasn't another another checkpoint in that path to complete self-destruction, which it seemed like for a while Tiger was on. With him rebounding and winning that major, it seemed like he had recovered. So I expect more to come from this story, but it's really fascinating for me or it's just a fascinating to see how these pro athletes handle the challenges of life, whether that be fidelity in a marriage when you have such fame, and the commitment to family while still striving to be the best at your sport or your craft. It's just really interesting, and the documentary does go into that, about how people just want to see the powerful fall because it makes them feel better about themselves. And I hope that people watching this can get some insight into their own life somehow, and how they handle things, or how they handle the people around them, and just learn from others' mistakes. I was getting some serious Seau vibes. I've watched the Seau documentary, and I mean, obviously Junior Seau ended up committing suicide. You just hear about the struggles that he had after the fact, and I just, obviously I'm not making the connection that Tiger is going to, kill himself to put it bluntly. I'm just saying, he seems like he's on this path of kind of unstoppable self-destruction, and he needs to get it right. Otherwise, things like this are going to continue happening, and I hope they don't. I forgot to mention in the opening here that part of my tilt was, apparently I'm a golf guy now. I went out to the driving range, my first trip to the driving range with my brother, and I mean, I'm already getting targeted ads from Instagram for these affordable, kind of slick looking, minimalist golf clubs, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, sign me up for that newsletter. Enter me into the weekly drawing for free equipment. Why not? Let's go. Anyhow, so rip my free time, I suppose. I'm sure Jeff will be happy when he hears this. Another reason why I wanted to touch on this Tiger, well, I suppose we can, I'm trying to think of how to segue this here. I can't. especially since I mentioned segue, that kind of ruins it. This is the opposite of a nice segue when the capital J is on Sports Center. Say, oh, nice segue there, and they completely ruin the nice segue by calling it a pet peeve of mine. We kind of have an up and coming phenom in San Diego for the first time, probably ever. Fernando Tatis signed a 14-year, $340 million contract extension. Cementing it, they also, as part of the package, I'm not sure if it was negotiated with his agent or what, but the Padres also hired a former Disney executive for marketing, for their marketing team. The tweet that I saw suggested that the Padres want the level of exposure for Tatis to be the same as Ken Griffey Jr. in the 90s, or even Michael Jordan, and he's already got a few ad campaigns. I think he has some Gatorade commercials, he has BMW, and I mean, just the hype that he's getting on MLB, Twitter, and so I mean, he's going to be they're making the next big thing, the next phenom. The world is at his fingertips. So, and he's very young. He's 22, I believe. And I mean, what we've seen this guy do on the field, I don't think he's played 162 games yet. Do not fact check me on that. I will do it myself. 1 second. He has played in 168. No, those are hits. How many games has he played? He has played in 143. He's played in 143 games. He played in 84 games in 2019, and last year he played in 59. So all but one game. Last year there were 60. Well, I guess the playoffs. So anyway, not important. He's played 143 games, just under a regular season's worth. He's already made, I mean, just off the top of my head, he's gotten in a few pickles where, he's made a highlight reel play. The Air Tatis play. He's had like 3 or 4 bat flips that are iconic. He had the stretch out play at second base in the playoffs against the Cardinals, I believe. He tagged up on an infield fly from third, I think twice, or he tried it twice. And again, those are just off the top of my head. So he's basically averaging, a spectacular any one of those events. Like when Major League Baseball gets the Top Shot equivalent, whatever that's going to be called. If anybody doesn't know what Top Shot is, it's like basically monetized gifts. You pay money, you get a gift, and right now it's just basketball, but apparently it's going to be supported expanded out to other sports. It may be a scam, maybe a money laundering scam. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I'm not investing in Top Shot yet, but I missed the train on the early adapter thing. So I'll get in later to the curve, I'm sure. But anyway, any one of those, you get the Top Shot. I mean, you're freaking golden on that. And Tatis has done, so many. I mean, he reminds me of Bo Jackson, some of the stuff that he does. Obviously, not a multi-sport athlete, but just, he just keeps coming up with these plays. It's like, how does he do that? So he's huge. He's huge, and he's young, and depending on the path that he winds up going down, he could be, he could end up being like being like LeBron or Jordan. He could be that big, and I mean maybe not on the same level of of elite. I suppose it's almost like a Jeter, but but more. I mean, Jeter had a high exposure, but not. He didn't have that worldwide appeal that I think Tatis can can have. So, anywho, with Tiger being in the news and seeing the downfall of a phenom, I couldn't help but see Tatis, and I'm just slightly worried that all of this might be a little too much too soon. And I hope that he can handle the pressure that is out there to be the face of a sport and of a town. It's not easy. And obviously I am super happy for Tatis to, there's no opt-outs in his contract. So full control by the Padres. The time might come around where he gets traded. God, I hope not. But definitely don't see that in the foreseeable future. But anyway, I just hope that, by all accounts, it seems like Tatis has a good head on his shoulders. I just hope that that he makes good decisions and that there aren't too many people out there trying to tear him down, because he does kind of go against the typical profile for, let's say, like the Yankees, not which aren't even allowed to have beards. I don't know if they are anymore, but anywho, I hope that him being this very progressive face for baseball, it doesn't get taken down by a sport that won't even add the DH to the NL when everybody wants it. So yeah, but by all accounts, super excited for Tatis. I am thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled that he's going to be a Padre for the foreseeable future, and that we get to watch him. We get to root for him as a San Diego fan, and that he's filling in that void now that the stadium is practically in ruins. If you didn't listen to our last pod, and if you know anything or have any ties to the San Diego Stadium, I strongly suggest listening to it. Totally unbiased. One of my favorite shows to record. And if you're not familiar with San Diego, I think it's still relatable, because it's just about sports in general and the moments and that you have watching live sports. So, the other big piece of news, at least to me, and those gearheads out there, we may have a few, but most people may not care too much about this. But if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice I have my Rizzi Competizione hat, Ferrari hat on. Ferrari announced they will be returning to the top class in Le Mans. They announced a hypercar program. It's a 100-year anniversary of Le Mans in 2023. That's when their car is going to race. They're going to be joining Toyota, Peugeot, Glickenhaus in the hypercar class in the WEC. So I believe there's 9 rounds. Le Mans being the biggest one. Audi, Porsche, Acura have already committed to LMDH, which is the US's comparable class. I won't get into the specifics, but they race in a series called IMSA over here. They race at the 24 hours of Daytona, the 12 hours of Sebring. There's Petit Le Mans as well, which is an 8-hour race. So Porsche, Audi and Acura will be racing stateside in that class and be eligible to race in Le Mans as well with the same cars. And supposedly by 2023, 2024, Toyota, Peugeot, Glickenhaus, the hypercars should be able to race in the big races stateside. So Ferrari could be at Daytona, could be at Sebring. Sports car racing, it's a niche thing. However, Ferrari committing to it is, it's huge. Everybody knows the name Ferrari, and if they're watching a race and they see the scarlet red Ferrari and the prancing horse, there's no mistaking it. And you have that familiarity, and it's just this entry into the sport to give people something to latch onto. So I'm super excited. I'm hoping, again, this is, if you've listened to past episodes, my motorsport tie-in, how I got into it. My dad used to work for Nissan. They had a shop up in Vista, and they raced in the late 80s, early 90s. If you want to see what it is, Google Nissan GTP. That's the letters GTP. So in the early 90s, my intro to sports started with a three-peat. They won the drivers' championship in 89, 90, and 91. And my joke has been I have not had a title for any team that I've rooted for since. Arsenal's got a few FA Cups, which I'll take, but that's about it. So, anywho, that's coming in a few years. Hopefully, that'll give us some content to talk about. But on a personal note, I am hyped. I am hyped for this. They haven't raced since 1973 in the top class, so it's 50 years for Ferrari. I can't wait to see the car that they come up with. The Glickenhaus just came out with their car. It looks awesome. Glickenhaus is like a private car company from some eccentric former movie producer or something. I looked into the story. I guess they're kind of affiliated with Alfa Romeo. So, anywho, the cars look wild. They go fast. I'm excited. That is pretty much going to do it for this week. Jeff, hopefully we'll be back next week. We'll talk a little NFL free agency. We had J.J. Watt signed for the Cardinals, apparently. He announced it. So we have quarterback drama between Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, and Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. The New Orleans Saints want Breeze to make a decision. It's going to be a wild free agency period. I believe free agency opens this week. I doubt we'll see any big moves. I'm curious if we'll see anything before the draft. But really looking forward to talking about that with Jeff. So again, take our survey. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. Reach out to me. DMs are open. Thank you for listening. Catch you guys next time. Let's get some PF Chags. Toodaloo!